Good morning, everyone. It's Phil Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat, and today is November 12th, 2021. To see future episodes, YouTube requires you to do two things. Click on the subscriber button below here on the lower right, and also the notification bell in the far upper right. And today's topic is the ladies of the Confederacy are fighting back. Yesterday was Veterans Day. The day before, in Jacksonville, Florida, there was to be a decision made about a Confederate monument in the city. It's actually titled, the name of the statue is, or memorial is, a tribute to the women of the Southern Confederacy. It was erected in 2015. About half of the money came from donations and the other half from the state treasury. The city was to decide what to do with the memorial, and I'm going to show pictures of it here soon because it's really pretty substantial memorial. They were going to allow a total number of 90 people to speak, but in the end, they decided to do nothing with the statue, even though they had slotted it or slated it for removal 3 years ago. This is an example. I think it probably reflects to some extent the elections in Virginia. People are getting tired of having everybody in the South demonized, and the destruction of these memorials is a way of demonizing a part of the people in the South, those that have a respect for the tradition of their ancestors, even though they fought for the Civil War or fought for the Confederacy. And they're fed up with it. They're really fed up with it, and they just needed a glimmer of hope to go ahead and do something about it, and so they did. The ladies of I don't know, when they went after this ladies memorial in Jacksonville, they really touched a nerve, and so they could not go over a straight up or down vote on this memorial at the meeting. Now, of course, the corporate press reports that, oh, the meeting got raucous and they had to move the audience out, and that's true. But I mean, good grief, how can you compare a so-called raucous meeting with the looting and the riots that we saw in the summer of 2020? There is no comparison. And the people that are trying to take these statues down, to a large extent, they really don't know what they're about. All they know is they've been told they reflect racism and hatred. But let's go ahead. Let me show you a couple of pictures of the memorials. So here's the first one. I'm going to enlarge this so maybe you can get a better look at it. Now, the resolution is poor, so you can see that the image looks kind of blocky, but that's a substantial monument. And you know, it's something that you want to really kind of pump the brakes on before you remove it. There's absolutely no reason why the state of Florida or anybody want to put up statues to in the Jacksonville to reflect the contributions of African Americans to the state and to the nation. There's no reason they can't be added without taking something like this down. Taking something like this down is a deliberate attempt to disunify our country. And it may well happen if this sort of thing continues. I'll try and show you another picture here. Let me pull that up. Yes, share screen. There we go. Now here's the other one that I've got. Again, well, the picture's so darn small. That's what it looks like now. So anyway, that's where we stand. So let me just make a couple of points that are pertinent to this monument. The state of Florida was the least populous state in the Confederacy, yet she gave more of her sons to the Confederate Army in proportion to the population and registered voters than, well, I don't know if any other state, but here's the point. Florida gave more men to the Confederate armies than it had registered voters. If California, say the United States were to go to war now, and California gave to the United States military more soldiers than it had registered voters, they would be giving 31 million people to the army. Florida gave more Confederate soldiers, gave more men to the Confederacy in their army than it had registered voters. And that's significant. Now, the second thing I want to mention is that Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Fremantle, who was a British observer during the Civil War, who came to the came to the Confederacy and also the United States to observe the war. He entered at Brownsville, Texas, traveled through every state, I think, except Arkansas and Florida, and ended up at Gettysburg during the battle. So he was an observer at the Battle of Gettysburg. But as he was making that trip toward Gettysburg, he went through Mississippi. He bypassed Vicksburg, but Vicksburg was under siege at the time. And he speaks here of spending the night with some residents, probably near Jackson, Mississippi. We slept at a farmhouse. All the males were absent at the war, and it is impossible to exaggerate the unfortunate condition of the women left behind in these farmhouses. They have scarcely any clothes and nothing but the coarsest bacon to eat, and are in miserable uncertainty as to the fate of their relations, whom they can hardly ever communicate with. Their slaves, however, generally remain true to them. Our hostess, though she was reduced to the greatest distress, was well-mannered and exceedingly well-educated, very far superior to the women of her station in England. I'd also like to read the inscription at the monument for Confederate women. Let this mute structure speak to generations to come, of a generation of the past. Let it repeat perpetually the imperishable story of our women. Those noble women sacrificed their all upon their country's altar. Now, I don't have it written down, but somewhere I do remember reading that Lieutenant Colonel Fremantle from Britain gave credit to the women for keeping the Confederate armies in the field. He said that, the men would have come home sooner, except the women wouldn't let them. In fact, it was not until the women were starving that the men started to desert the armies, simply to go home and take care of their families. So you may want to go. So I'll put a link below to the website that will tell you about the memorial. But what we're getting from the media and from academia is a terribly one-sided version of the Civil War and Reconstruction. It is necessary to get another version of the story out there that is valid and that the academics will never look at, because, as I've mentioned recently, they're swimming in their own goldfish bowl. And in their own goldfish bowl, you're not allowed to look at things that are outside of it. But to get at the whole truth of the story, you have to. And they just don't care about that. Truth is really not an objective of academic historians at this time concerning the Civil War and Reconstruction. But you can get it concerning Reconstruction. United States, U.S. grants failed presidency, $22 at Amazon and Barnes & Noble elsewhere. You want an autographed copy? Then go ahead and email me, Phil, Phil, underscore Leigh, Leigh at me.com. Okay, that's our show for today, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.